What's up, everyone? Welcome to my channel. My name is Cassie. I'm going to be continuing my Makeup 101 foundation kind of thing, my series. I'm going into powders today. I've been kind of off for about a week or two. I apologize for that. My studio, like the upstairs area of my house where I do my recording and stuff, the AC went out. So we just got that fixed. So hopefully I'll be back on my Wednesday, Friday schedule, but we'll see how that goes, hopefully. If you would like this video, leave a like and subscribe, and let's get started. So, last video in this series, I did foundation and concealer. Today we're going to be talking about like powders, contouring, things like that. So the first thing is setting powders and baking. So I don't bake, first of all. If you want to, you are more than welcome to. The issues with baking is that the idea of it is that you set those under eye creases right here. The downside of it is you set those under eye creases. So if you're not really careful about how you apply it, you can actually bake in those creases and make them look even more pronounced, which I see with a lot of people. Also, if you use too much powder, which is really easy to do when you're baking because you're literally applying too much powder, you can make it look really dry and cakey under there. And especially with me, because I have combination skin and I tend to be very dry up on my high points, I tend to look very cakey and with baking. As far as I've seen with the trends on makeup, baking was a big thing about 4 or 5 years ago, give or take, maybe a little sooner, but it really hasn't been a thing now. Most people just don't bake except for extreme circumstances, or certain circumstances, I should say. So, yeah, I don't really bake. If you're going to do like a photo shoot, it's gonna be like a real quick thing, maybe. I might be worth baking because it does brighten up your under eyes, and if you make sure to wipe out your creases before you set the powder, it really does help. But if you're talking about like an all day, long day kind of wear, everyday look, I don't think it's a good idea. I think you're gonna probably make yourself look worse. So I do set. This is my favorite setting powder. It's Wet n Wild Photo Focus, the translucent powder. I love Wet n Wild. If you watched any of my other videos, you know that I have a big thing about animal cruelty and doing cruelty-free or vegan products. I don't really harp on the vegan formulas, although I prefer them if I can find them, but I am big about getting cruelty-free, and Wet n Wild is a cruelty-free drugstore brand. So I love that. They're really cheap. I'm a big fan of them, always have been. And their powders are actually really good. Like, they're very buttery, which I like. So when you set your face, you just take a big fluffy brush like this. It's a little dirty. We're going to ignore that. And you just dip it in, and you pat it off, and you just go either in very circular motions or you kind of go down because, again, you don't want to set the hairs up. And regardless of whether circular motions or however you do it, at the end of it, I always kind of brush everything down just to make sure that I've gotten all of the hairs laying down and all of the excess powder off my face because it will cake up no matter what. So that's really easy. Now there's a couple different types of powders you can use. I like the translucent powders like this because I'm very pale, and if I have any color to it, everything tends to get too dark for me. I'm very pale. It's very hard to color match and get stuff right for me. So if I get like a perfectly matched concealer and foundation, and then go over it with like a banana powder or like a slightly colored bronzer or something like that, it will make me look very dark in the face and very pale everywhere else. So it doesn't really work out for me. As far as bronzer, this is actually kind of an older bronzer, but I really like it. It's Butter London's bronzer. It's very old. It's one of my first bronzers, so I don't throw out makeups like you should, except for eye makeups. You should throw out makeup after like 6 months, but face powders and stuff, I don't. We're just gonna ignore that. Do as I say, not as I do. Okay, okay. Alright, so for bronzer, it's gonna be True to Form palette, Butter London. I don't think they have names for it, so it's fine. I'm just gonna be going in with that middle bronzer, contouring, whatever thing. I use a little fluffy brush for this. If you get too big of a brush, you're gonna end up with like wide bands of it, and then it is easy to fix, but it's a pain in the butt to fix, and I just don't like doing it. So for bronzer, or for contouring, there's a couple ways you can do it. you always want to do the low points. So underneath your cheekbones, underneath your chin, and then up on your forehead. Now, it used to be that you would go along the hairline and down all the way. Nowadays, it's more common to see it kind of along here, and then you highlight up here. I actually prefer that. I think it looks a little bit more natural, but you can honestly go either way, and I do both ways. So, you do circular motions like this. Very, very light pressure. I think I've said it before, but hold your brush at the end and don't push into it. Now again, with forehead, I go honestly kind of to the sides and down. Same circular motions, same very, very light pressure to give me an even finish. Go under. I'm going to use a fluffy brush like this, just like an eyeshadow brush, smaller to do the nose contouring, and I just go along the lines of here, and then I curl it kind of around here and go down a little bit. It just makes my nose look a little bit smaller than it actually is. At the end of this, you're just going to kind of blend it all out with a big fluffy brush. Okay, now for blush. I like the Milani palette. I used a lot, and I'm just going to be going in with that middle color. Again, it doesn't have a name for it, so whatever. And then you're just going to go on the cheekbones, again in circular light motions. And you're going to kind of go up. Like, a lot of people make it like too round, and that's fine if you're going for that look, but what you want to kind of do is blend it into that contouring so it looks like you're blushing a little bit. Nobody has just like super round blushes, like it tends to be everywhere. And so you just kind of go back a little bit. And if you're going for like an elf look or something like that, you can put it on the tip of your nose and make it look really cute, but for normal looks, I don't do that. Last is highlighter. I'm going to be using the Wet n Wild Mega Glow highlighter in the Blossom Glow. And you're, again, just going to be stacking up on what you've already done, but you're going to go different places too. So high up in your cheekbones, you're going to be highlighting that right above where you set that blush. And again, you kind of bring it back. Then do the tip of your nose and middle of your forehead, right on the bow of your lips, and your chin. You can go kind of in the middle here, however you want to do it. There's a lot of ways you can highlight and contour, but this is kind of just the basic ways to do it. That's the basics of contouring and highlighting and everything. You can obviously go further. The more you contour, even you can make like weird designs with your contouring. The contouring is the basics of like your skeleton look for Halloween and stuff. You just use black or brown, dark browns. So there's a lot of ways you can do it, but this is just kind of like your basics, like your daily, just how you would do it. Now, as far as colors go, it's a little bit more forgiving than your foundation. You can use a lot of different colors. Just keep in mind, the darker you go, the darker you're gonna look, things like that. Some contours I don't think look good on certain skin tones, but it's less to do with your color coordinating like it is with foundation and more just like common sense. If you're really, really pale and going in with a super, super dark contour, it's gonna look a little funky. So that's more what it's talking about with that. So just kind of use common sense with that, but there's not as much with the like color wheel and shit that you would do with like the foundation, okay? And that's it for this video. I will see you next time. Bye!